Am I ever gonna be good at this? I don't know. Hi there, my name is Amanda and I have officially finished wait, that's not the order. The original Grisha trilogy / Shadow and Bone trilogy. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm not good at like the names of series. Like, is it called Shadow and Bone series trilogy? I don't know. But I finished it. Yay! So this was literally perfect timing because the day after I finished the series, the Netflix announced the Shadow and Bone show that's gonna be like streaming, I think it's like April something of next year. Perfect! I will say though, watching all the videos, and there's this one video where all of the actors are introducing themselves as the characters that they play, and then I freaked out because I was like, don't know this person, don't know this person, who's this person? Like, I didn't recognize like half of the names of the characters, and I was like, how? And I've recently been having like these weird insecurities because I have a friend who she reads really fast and she remembers like every detail. You know, she remembers things so much, like down to like little things that I'm not even sure I registered when I read them. You know what I mean? Which is totally fine. But I was like, this was like one of those moments where I was like, Amanda, are you serious? Like, what's the point? You literally didn't remember half the characters. Turns out the characters are from Six of Crows, which makes me think that the characters from Six of Crows or somehow the Six of Crows story is going to be involved in this TV show? I don't know. If you have more information, let me know. I'm going to be honest. I did not really look into it. She actually Googled it for me because she's also read these. And with that being said, like I am of course going to read the Six of Crows duology. That was actually one of the reasons that I picked this up was because I wanted to read Six of Crows. And I know everyone said like you don't have to read this to understand Six of Crows, but I wanted to. Like I like doing it that way. I like reading it in order. And I wanted like that background into the Grisha world. So I'm definitely glad that I did. So that I will be reading soon. And I'm excited for the TV show. I'm definitely going to watch it. Obviously, even if it's not good, like I'm gonna give it a shot. Maybe I'll do like a review series. I think that would be fun. Again, not that I remember every single detail from the books, but whatever. So in this video, I'm gonna be talking about the Shadow and Bone first Grisha trilogy. Someone please let me know what's it called. So the first part of this video is going to be spoiler free. I'm not going to go into like any details. I'll just talk in general about the books and the series as a whole. Okay, so let's start with the series as a whole. In general, I really enjoyed this series. Like overall, I enjoyed the story arcs. I really loved most of the characters. That's what really did it, I think, for me was the characters, meeting the characters, hanging out with the characters, getting to know them, seeing their arcs was really fun. And I'm not really a character-driven person. Like when I read something, I'm super plot driven. Although I guess not even really. I like it just like coming everything together. I like all the points. But I also really enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed the world and the Grisha magic. I thought it was so fascinating. So if you don't know, this series takes place in a world where there are people, everyday people that don't have any powers. And then there are Grisha. And Grisha hold powers kind of relating to the elements. And so for example, there are people that can manipulate like wind and metal. I'm not going to pretend that I remember or can pronounce the name of every single one of the powers. I'm sorry. It's just really cool. So there's like, you know, this little bit of a power dynamic where Grisha are really looked down on actually. And there is this one very, very all-powerful Grisha. He is called the Darkling. And the whole premise is that there is this kind of expanse of darkness filled with these creatures called the Volcra, and they make up this thing called the Fold. And the Fold is like, it's just like this, it's literally, I don't know how to explain it without saying, it's just like an expanse of deep, dark killer monsters. That's all I've got. Essentially, it follows this girl named Alina. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And I don't want to spoil anything because I went into this knowing very, very little. So I'm not going to spoil anything. But it essentially is her journey in navigating this world. And she comes across this all-powerful being called the Darkling who has the power. Essentially, he can summon darkness. And she stumbles upon him and is separated from her friend. And it's her journey discovering things about herself, discovering things about their government, discovering things about the Fold and about the Darkling and so on. You don't want to spoil anything, but that's essentially the premise. It's really interesting. I enjoyed it. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. As a whole, I think I'd give the series an A-. because I did enjoy it, and there was a lot of things about it that I really liked. I will say, if you've heard me talk about this series before, I was so wrong. BookTube led me so wrong. BookTube did me so dirty. I don't know, I feel like I've watched so many videos about this series. How did I connect these two things and decide that something happened that didn't happen? Like, it didn't happen. And I feel like, I kind of feel bad reading it because there was so much in here that I was like, how does this happen? How do we get to where we end? Amanda, because that's not where it ends. That's not the end. That's not what happens. BookTube did me so dirty. Just kidding, it's on me. I hope that was cohesive. I don't know, I feel like I black out sometimes when I do this. If I was gonna give each individual book a rating, I would give this an A-. I would give this a B+. There were just some things in it that I just don't enjoy reading in books. Like, it was fine and I can like mostly look past it, especially because, you know, what happens in the end, like it was okay. But like while I was reading it, I was like, this is frustrating. I'm sick of reading this. Not sick of reading this, just sick of reading the thing that happens, like the whole arc. So I would give this probably a B+, in this an A-. Overall, I did enjoy the series. Like, it's not by any means perfect or like, you know, like some profound trilogy, but I enjoyed it. I'm a pretty liberal rater anyway, especially, I don't know. I enjoyed it and I cried. Like, the series made me cry. But I enjoyed them. I'm glad that I read them. And that is all for non-spoilery stuff. Okay, let's talk about this. If you don't want to be spoiled, it was so nice to see you. Although, I'm going to be honest, if you're watching this, you've probably already read the trilogy because I might be the only person here that hasn't. That's okay. That's okay. It's fine. Everybody does things at their own pace, people. It's okay. If you do want to stay for spoilers, all right, let's do it. I was so wrong, you guys. I thought, this is what I really thought, and I think it's because of all of the BookTube videos that I've watched and like the way I've heard people talk about it. I thought that Alina ended up with the Darkling. That's what I thought happened. That's not what happens. That could not be further from what happens. And I feel like because of that, I was really hesitant in everything that was happening. I was like, can this just happen already? Because this is painful. And I was like, literally the whole book, I'm like, what, does he get any kind of redemption? Any kind at all? I feel like he didn't have like redemption, but he did have a moment where it was like, you know, he kind of explained. Anyway, I was wrong. Okay, Shadow and Bone. Let's talk about Shadow and Bone. So in Shadow and Bone, this is really just when she like discovers her powers and she has this like relationship with the Darkling. So when she discovered that she was the Sun Summoner, I thought that moment was really cool when they're like on the ship and it's like she's like holding Mal and like discovers that like she's like the Sun Summoner. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was really interestingly done. And I like stories that are like this, where it's like somebody discovers that they have a power that they didn't know and they're kind of thrust into this world and they have to figure it out. And they're like expected to be a certain thing. I think those are interesting stories. So I like the way that this was done. I actually liked, it's frustrating because, you know, obviously like I knew that the Darkling was bad, but because I thought that they got together, I thought that he wasn't that bad. So I was like into it in this. I was like, oh my gosh, like I like their relationship, and I was like sad. I'm like, you know, Mal. But can I say, I might literally do a whole video about tropes that frustrate me. And typically I can look past tropes, but something that really bothers me is not just the whole like, oh, she's plain. She looks like this, so she's plain. Please stop that. Enough of that. But the trope that the girl has a guy best friend. She's been in love with him this whole time. He's never expressed any interest in her until someone else expresses interest. And then all of a sudden, he's been in love with her this whole time. It's why I'm Team Peeta. It's why I could have been persuaded to be Team Darkling. I was actually Team Nikolai, and in a way, I stand by that. You know, so in this, really, we just see this arc where she's discovering herself, discovering her powers, discovering things about the Darkling and about Ravka. I think that's the name of the country. Discovering things about all of those. It was really interesting. It was fun to learn more about the like powers in the Grisha world and about the Fold, and then uncovering the fact that like the Darkling was the one that actually created it. So fun. And like his mom, oh my gosh, the story of his mom is so interesting to me. And Genya, is that how you say it? Genya? I love Genya. That girl. She was probably my favorite character in this. You know, I like Alina. I like her character. I love Mal. I do. Although, again, the self-righteous, like, best friend who like wasn't in love but was in love but never said anything, but it really, sometimes I'm like, ooh. And then finding out that the Darkling was bad at the end, like it like was actually like the one that did it, and like all of this stuff. It was really interesting. Literally, when I finally like picked it up and like really read it, I finished it so quickly. I was reading like 100 pages a night. It's really good, really interesting. I liked it. Like I said, I would give this like a low A, like a 90, just mostly for the enjoyment factor. You know, I enjoyed it, and that's the point. Oh, I also forgot the story of the amplifiers and the magic and the intricacies of the amplifiers. I also think was really interesting. And the fact that in this story, like each book is like essentially them looking for another amplifier and like thinking about that kind of, but they're always like going after the amplifiers, you know what I mean? But that whole concept is really interesting to me, and I loved learning about that and like learning about kind of how they were created, even though like obviously you discover at the end like their actual purpose and stuff. But yeah, I just thought that was really fascinating. This book bothered me a little bit, just a little bit. I still give it, like I said, like a high B plus, like an 88. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable to see her like running from the Darkling. It was enjoyable to see them hunting. I loved whenever Mal was hunting. Like for me, I don't know why, the scenes when he was tracking something were so interesting to me. I just was like having fun when it was happening. I also love boats. So the fact that they were on a boat for a chunk of this just makes me happy. Nikolai. Let me tell you, what's his like undercover name is Sturmund. It's probably like Sturmund, I think. I knew there was more to him. I knew it. And bam, there was. The fact that he's the Prince of Radka, it's like, that really, when I found that out, I was like, literally, I think I actually gasped. I was like, I wish at that point I was marking my books, like, and had like a little bit of a system, because I would have at that part. I just think, I will say Nikolai is my favorite character in this book, because I think he's really funny and witty and interesting, and like, it's like even like his motives are like, I don't want to say honorable because I don't like that term and I don't like that whole thing, but like his motives, you know, are ultimately to help the country, to help Ravka to improve what's going on. So the fact that in this, you know, like they're spending so much of their time kind of like just figuring out how to defeat the Darkling, how to get the next amplifier, and Alina, oh my gosh, Alina's like struggle with like her like pull to power and her desire for power is so fascinating. Oh my gosh. And the fact that there's like a connection between her and the Darkling, I didn't even mention that. That connection, let me tell you, I was actually scared. Like the first time it happened, I was like, oh. And then like every time he would like show up, I'd be like, oh my God. Like it would freak me out a little bit. Here's what bothered me. Alina and Mal. I had no problems with them ending up together, and like in theory like wanted them to be together, especially like as it went on. I know, like I say, Nikolai's my favorite, I'm team Nikolai, but I didn't think that her and Nikolai should be together, like actually. Like I didn't think like in terms of like love, I didn't think they should be together. I just really like Nikolai as a character and like as a person. I do like support the whole Alina and Mal thing. I like it, but this drove me crazy. Here it is. You're gonna hear it again. Another thing that's always happening. Miscommunication. No communication at all. It was like just no communication. Like everyone wanted to say something but weren't saying it, and Mal was just like so hurt, and I get that he was so hurt, but sometimes it was like, bruh, things are happening. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. And it was just like, there was just points where I was like, ugh. Like at this point, I read so much of this book just because I was getting to a point where I was like, I need to be done. But I still enjoyed it, you know, which is why I still gave it like a B plus, because I did still enjoy in general like the story. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed learning more about what was happening. Was this the book where she like finds out that Mal is like in that like fighting club thing? We didn't talk about the, how do you say it, the apparat? That man in the first book freaked me out. The second book really freaked me out. And this is the book like where she starts to grow like, you know, like her followers, like, and they start like, you know, getting like tattoos and stuff of like the sunbeam or the sun to like support her. Really interesting. That was another thing that I found really interesting. Sorry, this video is probably all the heck over the place. I apologize. That's my brain. I thought that was really fascinating. Like that whole arc of her being created to be a saint, and that whole concept of the saints. And I can't ever remember how to say his name. The guy that created the amplifiers, his story, so fascinating. And like this whole concept of her being like this savior and stuff, and then like obviously hearing what's going on in her head and her own doubts, and watching her become that, like watching her put on this mask in this face to be what was needed, I thought was really interesting. And that was why I also wasn't more annoyed at the Mal stuff, because she felt and he felt that there wasn't going to be ever going to be able to be a future for them. And I felt like as much as she annoyed me with not communicating and he annoyed me with his reactions and not communicating, I admired like the fact that she was kind of setting those boundaries when they needed to be there, or because they were going to need to be there, you know, and like trying to distance herself in a way that would be beneficial for them. Do I think it was like perfect? No, definitely not. Again, communication is key, and like they just really got mad at each other and yelled at each other. Like I can go on and on about communication, okay? Like I teach this stuff, but there were like some parts where there were like some moments where I was like, this is her like finding her place in this world and taking responsibility for what she has to do. So I did think that was interesting, and I did think that was good. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I was annoyed by it, but I enjoyed it. This guy. Let me tell you how much of this book though, I was like, when is she gonna get with the Darkling? He's doing awful things. And there were moments where I was like, he can't come back from this. He can never come back from what he's done. Like I was thinking that throughout the series. I was like, how is he supposed to come back from this? And then it was like literally like where I was like here and I was like, what? Amanda, it doesn't happen. Let go of it. But I didn't know. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really fascinating to see, you know, like when they escape and stuff. Oh, another very redeeming thing for me, was the end. The whole fight scene, the scene where when she like says goodbye to Mal and then she's going to go with the Darkling like willingly. That scene made me cry. I cried a lot. And then when she like, but I was like, when she just like grabbed him and like held him and started using his power against him. And I thought that was so great. I thought it was so clever. I thought it was wonderful. I really enjoyed that scene. And then like the whole like, you know, she like kind of like loses her power a little bit and like the color from her hair is like drained from her hair. I don't know. I just thought it was fascinating. I thought it was really interesting. That part was really redeeming to me. Like I really enjoyed the way that happened. And I thought it was good. I liked it. Sorry, back to this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about how this book broke me just a little bit. Okay, so really interesting, right? Them going to find the Firebird at this point. Like they had the stag and they had the sea dragon snake thing. And now the Firebird. So fascinating. I was really interested. And I had this feeling that it like wasn't going to be that easy. Or I was like, she's not going to find it. Like she's not going to be able to find it. I thought that like maybe she would like find her power without it. Really enjoyed like their quest for the Firebird. I thought it was really interesting. This was like the first time that I've like tabbed a book based on certain feelings. And I actually really enjoyed it. And now I'm rereading one of my favorite books of all time. And I'm doing it so intensely. I love it. So in general, I liked this conclusion. I liked how it ended. I liked this arc. I loved the story of like, first of all, them like trying to see if like Nikolai was even still alive and what he was doing, and like this whole like the fact that he was like, you know, like almost single-handedly, obviously not single-handedly, but he was like leading this whole rebellion against the Darkling, like in hiding, kind of. I just really love him. Also, I saw like a lot of really interesting things from Alina and Mal in this. Like I thought the way that Mal kind of took his like position, like kind of realized that regardless of what Alina actually wanted, which was obviously him, that wasn't going to happen, that wasn't going to be able to happen. And watching them grapple with that and like hold on to each other while trying to let go was actually really heartbreaking and kind of hard for me to read. Like I was just like, there were so many tears. I cried a lot of tears in this. This was another thing though, like so many times I'm like, you guys could still say it. Like you could still talk about it. Like it's like all they did in the second book was like fight about it, and then that was that. All they did was just, it was always a fight. That talk, whatever talk they needed to have was always a fight. And I'm like, and there was like no resolution. That is something that bothered me. Like even when they like reconciled and it was like they realized that it didn't even matter anymore and that they like there was no words. They didn't talk about it. It was just like, they just like poof, it was gone. And I'm like totally with that whole like they were letting it go and move forward, but I don't know, it felt weird to me. I'm like, literally there was a whole chunk where I was like, so like, are they good? Like, are they just gonna be together no matter what? Like, what would they have done if Alina still got to keep her power? Let's just say that Alina still had her power and Mal was alive and it ended. And she was expected to run Ravka. Obviously, like, that's not what happened. So it's like, but because I obviously didn't know, it was really bothering me that there was no discussion, no communication whatsoever. And it just felt like a reckless thing at that point. And I know they were just kind of taking it as like, this isn't something we need to talk about because of the, you know, just expanse of what's happening. I get that, but it bothered me. And I wanted a conversation, at least like a humane conversation. That wasn't a fight. I wanted something that was meaningful. That wasn't a fight. I didn't get it, but that is okay because I got so much more. Let's talk about the fact that Mal is a third amplifier. That was really hard for me. When I found that out, I was like, no, because even when Mal annoyed me, I really loved him. I loved him. And it was sad because like, obviously that meant like she needed to kill him. And he was just so, like, he felt like that, he's like, it didn't matter. Like, this is what you could tell he felt like that was what he was made for. It was really interesting to get the lineage. This was when, I don't want to say Marvolo because that's clearly like Tom Riddle's last name or middle name. I can't remember. I don't think I pronounced it correctly, but talking about, so essentially like the guy that created the amplifiers, talking about the way that happened, his lineage, his family, finding out that the Darkling is related to him and that Mal is related to him was so interesting. But by like his human daughter who like he brought back to life with the magic. So fascinating. I thought that was really well done. I thought that was super interesting, but obviously tragic because Mal. So then anyway, so let's just talk about this. So they go through the whole thing. They find out that Mal's the amplifier. He just like sat in that role so sternly. Like he was like, this is what I need. This is what I was made for. And I'm like, I'm sad. And poor Alina, because like she loves Mal and she's always loved Mal and she's always felt like they've had a connection. And he did too, apparently, you know, professed that he's always loved her. But he felt like, oh, like that she wouldn't, whatever. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know what else we didn't talk about? Zoya. Interesting character. I really liked her character. But the reason that I thought about that was because of like her like thing with Mal. But anyway, I thought like the dynamic with Zoya was really interesting, and like her like the fact that she was like really interested in Mal and like tried with Mal and blah blah blah. I thought that dynamic was interesting, and it was like fun to like watch those little moments. And then of course, the final battle scene in this was great. Oh, there was a moment with the Darkling. Oh, also, so Alina So I thought it was really cool how Alina like discovered that she could reach the Darkling too. That was really fascinating. I always loved those moments. And those were moments, that was why I like kept on to this idea that I thought that they were going to end up together, because I thought that would allow her to see things in him that he had, or well, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But then when he took those children and hung her teachers, that was a moment where I was like, how do people else support them? But obviously they don't support them because, I mean, people do support them, but it's not what happened. But then obviously like at the end, you know, he talks about, he's like, you know, I didn't do as terrible things as you thought I did or whatever because I wanted you to make me the villain, which I thought was an interesting conversation and dynamic for their relationship, but also still like, you still did a lot of really bad things. You still did a lot of really bad things. And then the final battle, like when it all comes down and they're all like, people are getting shot and she gets shot and she's like, oh, when she learns to project her power, like project her, or like to put herself, make him see her somewhere else so then she can like escape. That was amazing. But then when she kills Mal, I lost that part was really hard for me. But then, oh my gosh, when everyone else started to light up and she made like the humans were sun summoners, and that was like the whole point of like his amplifiers was like the specialty of like just being not magical. You know, like obviously being magical and powerful is like, that's special, but like so is not, you know? It was so cool. It was such an interesting concept. I loved it. I loved the way that happened. I just thought it was like a beautiful little, like everyone just kind of became sun summoners. And then obviously they brought Mal back. Ooh, that moment I was like, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. But obviously they did. Oh my gosh, I didn't even talk about, is his name Harsha in the cat? Oh, and that other girl that died. Naya. See, do you see what I mean about characters? I'm not the best at it. I'm not good at names. That was really sad. It was so sad that they died. But I was so happy that they brought Mal back. But then obviously, you know, a little bit sad that like Alina lost her powers. How did we go this whole time without talking about what happened to Nikolai? I was furious. I put down the book. I was like, are you serious? Like, first of all, I thought he was going to die at first. Obviously he didn't die, but he was turned into like that creature. And I was like, and then she tried to heal him. He tried to have her heal him. And that moment, that man is so, that was just so sad. It was Nikolai's arc. He's just like been through so much. You know, he was just such this like person that just like, granted he put himself in a lot of situations to kind of develop this persona, not even just persona, but to develop this grit. But he's just been through so much, and to literally essentially be like possessed by the Darkling, and then to like you know, be healed, but not completely, because like something like that obviously leaves a scar, like a serious scar. Like, so fascinating. So, and it just made him, for me, more interesting, and like the fact that it didn't change him at his core, like it did, but it didn't change the fact that like he wanted to just help Ravka, and like that was his goal and his position, and that was where he was going. Like, that was everything that was important to him, was improving everything. His brother was annoying. Did I think he deserved to have his arm socket? His arm like literally ripped off? Is that what happened, if I remember correctly? No, maybe not. That might have been a little bit much, but he did literally bring them there. So anyway, that's off the point. Really interesting. I thought the last fight was amazing. We didn't even talk about Genya. Do you see? I should start making like a list to like put it next to my camera. Is that what people do? Genya being tortured, her eye, so sad, so tragic. Really interesting to her character development, especially because she was never bad, you know? She was just more or less scared and like doing what she thought was right and thought would be beneficial. So that was really fascinating to me. Really loved her character and her character development, watching her become such like this strong, centered, grounded person that then obviously gets to lead, I think her, Zoya and David, they get to lead the second army, if I remember correctly. That was fascinating to me, and I thought that was really well done and interesting. Wait, also the Darkling's mom dying, that was sad, but she sacrificed herself, and that kid, oh. Anyway, so the very end, everything wraps up. I did not see the Darkling's death coming, mostly because again I thought they got together, but I just like didn't think it would end. I don't know what I thought would happen. I guess I didn't, at that point when I had to let go of that idea, I didn't know what would happen. And the fact that she killed him was so interesting, but she's still, his name Alexander, but she's still like, you know, when they burned the bodies, her body and his body, like that she felt that he should still be with her, like next to him, and like still gave him like this interesting sense of respect and kind of like understanding and empathizing with his story, his upbringing, his life, and what he felt inside him, because she felt that same pull. She felt that same power. And now, obviously, she talks about, like, feeling that little bit of emptiness and how there are good days and bad days. And same with Mal, who, because he was an amplifier and had that, like, power, when he died, he lost it. And now he even talks, like, they talk about how he feels that a little bit, too. But they have each other, and they make up for it, and it's just, like, sweet. And, like, oh my gosh, running, like, their little school, it's just, their orphanage, I do feel like, I will say, them being together in this extraordinary, ordinary life, you know, like everything that people do is theoretically extraordinary, right? But like the, you know, running an orphanage and like just being centered with themselves and each other is just, it felt so right, because even though Alina was willing to do the things that she needed to do, it was never what she wanted. Like, did she want that power because she felt that pull? Yes, but she never wanted to be, you know, a saint. She just wanted to be who she was, and really she just wanted to live in peace with Mal. And so it was really nice that and Mal obviously always just wanted to live in peace. Like, he never wanted any of that. So it was really nice that they kind of got to come together at the end, and they got to run this orphanage with these kids, and they, you know, something that I like that Leigh Bardugo does is that she puts like those little chapters, like the before and after, where it's like, it's just like she's telling a story about people, right? So how she alludes to like Nikolai visiting them and Genya and them visiting them. That's so fun for me. That stuff was really fun for me. I thought that was sweet. Anyway, there's probably so many things that I missed that I would want to talk about, but in general, I really liked it. It was a good conclusion. I cried several times. I tabbed it. Most of them are just like my favorite quotes. I don't know what else to say. It was really, I cried a lot. I cried. This book made me cry quite a bit. I cried when Mal died. I cried when he came back. I cried at the end. Oh, there was a lot of tears. But in general, I'm really happy with the way the series wrapped up. I really liked it, and I thought it was kind of I thought it was pretty fascinating. I enjoyed it. That's why, like, I would give the whole series as a whole like an A-. Like, wasn't anything miraculous, but it was really interesting and it was enjoyable, and I liked it. I'm glad I read it, and I cannot wait for this show. And I promise I will be reading Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom soon, because I hear that they're even better, and I wonder how it'll relate to this, and I wonder like what I'm gonna think of this series after I read that. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited to read those. But anyway, I think that's all. I definitely left some stuff out, probably. I don't know. I'm sorry if I did. Let me know if you've read this series, if you're going to read the series, if you're gonna watch the show. I'm definitely gonna do like some videos on the show when I watch it, because I'm really interested to see how it goes, and I think this stuff is so fun. Like, comparing books to movies obviously can be frustrating, but can also be so fun for me. Anyway, I think that's all I've got for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or week or night or whenever you're watching this, and I will see you soon.